Greetings from YouTubeville. Once again, it's the draft guy, Danny Savage. Today, we're throwing out a 5 linebacker watch list. Now, it's early, we're in June. So, I'm just throwing out 5 names to look out for come the fall and then 2025 NFL draft. Today, we're going to do linebackers, tomorrow, tight ends, the next day, safeties, then corners. Then we're going to flip back around and we're going to go with 5 more D tackles, 5 more defensive ends, 5 more offensive tackles, 5 more guards, 5 more centers, and boom, 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 boom down the line. So that should put us to like 120, just 120 players that should put us at by July the 1st. So that's my goal. And that's what I'm going to give you guys. All right. First kid, I just want to put an asterisk next to his name. Everyone's blowing this kid up as the #1 rated linebacker, like that. He's the man. His name is Harold Perkins out of LSU. 6'1". He looks 220 with pads on. He's had a 6-sack season and an 8-sack season. I think he's going to make his living in the NFL rushing from the outside. I don't see him being an in-the-box linebacker stopping the run. I just don't see it. And just what scares me about him, and listen, they say, don't rank the helmet, rank the player. But it's just like in the back of my mind, the last 2 LSU linebackers to come out, ironically, who drafts them, Dallas and Jabril Cox, who I said was a bust from day one, who was horrible, who made a lot of tackles, but they were all 25 yards downfield. And then I don't blame Damone Clark. I really don't, because Dallas drafted him with a bad neck. And to draft a linebacker with a bad neck that you have to get surgically repaired at a position that every play is a car crash, I mean, you just put a tip on yourself. People that think that was going to be all right, that's like getting a fullback and getting his neck repaired. Every play is a car crash. So, like I said, this kid can fly. He has crazy speed, 2-year starter, but I think he's going to make his living on the outside in the NFL. I don't see him being an in-the-box type run stuffer, unless he puts on maybe another 15 pounds, but then will that take away from his speed? But he's a playmaker. He's definitely a playmaker. This year, we got some big linebackers. Like I said, I'm only throwing 5 at you today. I can't spoil yours. Next kid is a kid, Danny Stuntsman out of Oklahoma, 6'4", 245. So he has that bigger size that I personally like as my middle linebacker inside, stopping the run. 2-year starter. He had over 100 tackles in each year. But it's weird. It's like when I look at him, I don't see a guy that weighs 235, 240. He looks a little bit lighter. Could it be that he's so tall? That's possible. But it could also be that, like if you go to Google says Sylvester Stallone is 5'10". Dude's 5'5", 5'6". And we all know they make these kids out bigger than they actually are. So you're really not going to find out true speed, true height, true weight until the combine starts. But this kid definitely, you can tell he's a student of the game. He just happens to be in the right spot all the time, this kid. And that's not by accident. So you can tell this kid is definitely watches a lot of film. So that's that on him. Next kid I'm going to give you is Sonny Styles from Ohio State, 6'4", 230. He originally was a safety, but he's eaten himself into linebacker. So this year they're playing him at linebacker. Last year he had 53 tackles and 3 sacks. This kid, his dad played in the NFL. This kid has crazy, crazy athletic ability. So, I mean, don't be shocked. You see a guy like Dan Quinn go after a guy like this where he could play safety, but he is playing linebacker this year for Ohio State. Like I said, as people don't realize, as you get older, especially as a young kid, it's just a natural progression. You get bigger. So he has eaten himself into linebacker, and I think he's going to excel because his range is ridiculous, and he excels in pass coverage. So that's one thing you're not going to have to worry about. He's not going to be a liability versus the pass, and he's a kamikaze coming forward against the run. You know, like the last few years, last a lot of years, the NFL has gone to a smaller linebacker. And it's just my opinion, like you have to be ahead of the curve. How did Michigan win the national championship this year? They had 6 goons up front. They would have 5 goons up front on the offensive line. Then they would bring in a 6th offensive lineman as a tight end, a 7th offensive lineman as a tight end, and they would just pound on people. There were many games in the second half where they did not attempt not a single pass. So if I was building an offense, I would build my offensive line and my tight ends. I would want one, in the perfect world, one athletic pass catching tight end. And then I want my second tight end, Brevin Spann-Ford. I wonder where you heard that name, like 2 months ago. I would want my second tight end to be a giant bruiser, run blocker, straight goon, but also have soft hands to catch inside the 10-yard line. That's what I would do to try to attack all these smaller defenses. And you can see like Detroit Lions kind of going towards that way. You know, they bring in extra offensive linemen on their heavy packages, and their coach, Dan Campbell, just looks to pound the ball left and right. I'm going to give you another name now that, bro, this kid's not getting any love, but remember this name. Tyreen Powell, Rutgers, 6'5", 250. Now, right off the bat, you're going to say 6'5", middle linebacker. Bro, this kid plays middle. He plays outside. He rushes the passer. He covers wide receivers. This kid is, when I say he's 245, 250, he's slender. He's going to get bigger. He has no problem, you know, going downfield, stopping the run. He has no problem covering, you know, tight ends, running backs out of the backfield. This is a kid to watch out for. He's a 2-year starter. Last year, his season was cut short with a broken hand. But remember this name because this kid is a genetic freak. And Rutgers in general, watch out for them. Last year, they, you know, this, well, that'll come in handicapping later on. But last year, with a horrible quarterback, they beat Miami in a bowl game. And this year, they got a quarterback, and they, you know, they got Kyle Monangai, who I already gave you guys in my top 10, you know, list already for running backs. So I already gave you him. But this kid is a name to watch out for. You will hear his name on draft day. And I'll put money on it now. He will, listen, this is June. We're having fun. This kid will, if he stays healthy, he will 100% be a top 10 linebacker. come April of 2025. Just because his size and his speed, you cannot coach. Last name, I'm gonna just mangle it. It's Francisco Marangia. He plays for Miami. He's a Washington State transfer. His younger brother plays right tackle for Miami. This kid is 6'3", 240. Once again, he's an island guy, and we all know they're built differently. He could have came out last year, but he didn't. He stayed in. He is he excels for stopping the run. He'll come downhill and lay the pipe. And this year, you're going to be hearing about some of Miami's D tackles and D ends also when I give you my part two. This year, Miami's defensive line is just ridiculous. Their edges are ridiculous. They got monsters inside that are ridiculous. So this kid is going to have a bigger year. Remember, that's a name to look out for. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm giving you 5 guys for today. Linebacker watch. Tomorrow, we're going to do tight ends. Then we're going to do corners. Then we're going to do safeties. Then we're going to swing back around. I'm going to give you 5 more defensive tackle watch list, 5 more defensive ends, 5 more linebackers, 5 more corners, 5 more safeties, 5 more offensive tackles, 5 more guards, 5 more centers, and then I'm going to give you 10 wide receivers. And we're going to put quarterbacks out last. So right there, that should put us at 120. Listen, man, people can go out there and be all the clickbait channels you want. This is not. Nobody works harder than me. Nobody watches more football than me. And I'm old school. Everything is in my book. I write everything in my book. I got names in here from guys from years ago. Like I told you the other day, man. I don't understand why like dudes watch 2 games on somebody and then give them a grade. If I see somebody that stands out for me 3 years ago, I write them down. And then you got to play Houdini because the way the transfer portal is these days, that alone should be a full-time job. Because the way these kids just transfer left and right, you're like, oh, this kid's on that team. Oh no, now he's here. Now he's here. Now he's there. So the transfer portal alone is a job in itself. But this is what I like. This is what I enjoy doing. So this is a way early 5 linebackers to watch for the fall of 2024. And tomorrow we're going to drop tight ends. When you're rocking with the Guru World Order, it's for life. Thank you.